I just don't think he wants to be on Nar duty again. Nar does not seem to suit him. I've already said I didn't like it. One game it came through with a victory, but I think that was more Lupa's misplays on any excellent plays on the side of Aluka. He doesn't look to lane dominate on any champion. That's just not his playstyle. Just like Pokemon before him, he's not a top Cassinan player. He's much more of a Scion or a tank role player. So just put him in situations. And look, if you have to ban Hecarim, teams are banning an out-of-meta champion Scion against you. Use one of your bans to ban out a champion that really undoes a lot of your good work.
And I actually love this from OMG. That's 2 Maokai bans in a row there to join the LeBlanc against Xie and the Scion as well.
They're forcing a Hecarim ban.
They are. They're basically being like, hey, what other top laners can you pair Luca? Because we're not that impressed by your Gnar. And Xiang, his Gnar looks fine here. Azir is actually the last ban that will leave Cassiopeia open once again.
Or Hecarim.
Yeah, Alistar and Kalista also banned out by World Elite. Xiang hovers a Hecarim and pretty much instantly locks it in.
So when we saw teams start to really target Pokemon for Invictus Gaming, that's when things went sideways for them. Teams would really abuse his champion pool and try and play around him. The same story is happening to Aluka. They're playing champion. They're banning out safe counter matchups, and you could say, okay, but Scion and Maokai, they're not going to be able to kill Hecarim, and you'd be correct, but both of them can do things to answer Hecarim's scaling. Maokai, one-item power spikes very high, can make excellent teleport plays. His Scion play is magnificent, and Scion is a very strong laning champion, if not kill pressure. What does he have? He's considering the Aurelia. It's not Aurelia versus Gnar, so it's not a prototypical counter matchup. He goes towards the Gnar again.
Nope.
Or does he?
All right, so that's a Rek'Sai locked in. And you think, okay, good jungler for Spirit, I like it. But the Nidalee's already locked in. That says to me that Spirit really wants to win a game. He almost always goes to Nidalee when he needs to put in a big carry performance. But that is some interesting drafting. Aluka might be changing to something completely different as he does even swap over to Teleport Smite.
But you saw Spirit looking away from the camera, looking a bit bemused. I don't know if this is necessarily a strategy they had pre-planned. It feels like a last-second adaptation, and it certainly was. If he can play it, we've already seen the power of this top lane Rek'Sai, but again, aggression is kind of the name of the game in your Rek'Sai builds. I guess you could go full tank, and Spirit Visage first in a lot of matchups is fine, not so much against Hecarim, but it's a risk, and again, it doesn't feel like an Aluka champion.
No, and if it ain't broken for OMG, why fix it at this point? Gragas and Nautilus
100%.
Locked in once more. Yep, they're 100% with the champions. Actually, I think Nautilus is not actually, unfortunately, for amazing, but again, the Freight Train combo back in there again. So much CC, good early pressure, plenty of ways to teamfight, and Xie gonna flash Yasuo for a second, but probably considering some other picks, likely will give their mid laner the counter pick here. I love Mystic's Jinx. I think he's one of the best Jinx players in the league. He's shown some of his best performances on it, and he's going to go back to it with Morgana probably in support.
I think you take Morgana here and give yourself the option of Morgana mid if a really strong pick champion comes out from OMG. So don't mind the drafting, of course. Black Shield, excellent on Jinx, whether it's coming from the support or the mid lane role. Still, picking Jinx into Hecarim, picking Jinx into Gragas, and I guess to a lesser extent Nautilus. Already 3 champions that love diving the backline. Hecarim especially. You're really counting on Aluka getting on top of Hecarim this time, because if it's the same Hecarim we saw coming through from Xiang, it's going to be sad times for Mystic.
It is, and I actually considered Morgana last draft, but didn't take it and took Thresh, and I actually thought that was a mistake, so I like the pick here against this team comp. Lots of different champions being flashed.
It's Uzi time.
Yeah, Uzi's like, guys, I'm playing Vayne, you can't stop being cool, says, fine, I'll take the Lulu.
You just know that previously they're like, you can play Vayne when Civ is banned. And Civ still hasn't been banned, that it's like, screw it, it's Vayne time.
Well, I mean, I guess Jinx being open, you don't really want the Civ Jinx matchup. To be fair, you probably don't want the Vayne Jinx matchup either, as Annie's being hovered.
And of course, we've noted yesterday, in fact, Annie would have been a flex pick. It looks like they're not going to look for the Morgana mid. I guess Morgana against Lulu. You do have the option to go different directions. Xie had a very good win rate on the Vladimir. Don't know if he's played it again this split, but at least during the regular season last split, he was very, very good. I think he might have 1 losing game this split. So if he can get his eye back, overall has a good ratio on the Vladimir. This is the time to come back into power. But the big question mark, it's in the top lane. We asked Xiang, can you play those carry top lanes? Answer is a resounding yes. We have a lot more tape of Aluka, and consistently the answer has been no. You can go full tank on the Rek'Sai, but I think it's when you itemize so naturally into Black Cleaver. I mean, just picking up the Black Cleaver gives you that CDR to make Void Rush basically the most annoying ever-present champion ever. But more crucially, 5 or so autos, get that 30% shred down, you are going to do massive help for your Jinx.
You are, but can Aluka do it? I guess we'll find out as we're going to have Shueisha back on Gregor. Spirit on Nidalee, by the way.
Hey.
Another thing to look at. Yeah, I said Spirit wants to win. That's because when he takes Nidalee, he usually brutalizes his opponents with the champion.
But when we saw a successful Nidalee game, and remember, that wasn't a successful Nidalee win, but a successful Nidalee game, it is when Snake was running Maokai in the top lane, very easy to set up CC for those spears to land. We just saw the mid lane matchup. Vladimir is going to be no help to Nidalee. It's not a gankable lane for the Nidalee until maybe level 6 onwards. Top lane is going to be the Rek'Sai. Again, the setup CC is situation. Doesn't have flash for the flash unburrow. Only Morgana really has setup CC for Nidalee. So, look, Spirit had to effectively 1v9 a couple of times in the last split. I think he kind of has to really make all of the action himself again.
I think so, and he's on his 1v9 champion, so if anyone can do it on a champion like Nidalee, it's going to be Spirit. But Uzi's on Vayne, Spirit's playing Nidalee. Let's have our last game. And welcome back to our last game of the evening here. World Elite taking on OMG once again. OMG are up 1-0 with a very similar looking composition, but World Elite have thrown some spanners into the works here. And I like Vladimir Jinx. They played it quite a lot to good success. Aluka's a question. Spirit's a question. There's lots of fun here in our second game.
It definitely is. Teleport, Smite, top lane Rek'Sai. Zatai did wonderful on this champion in week 1. Over in the LCK, we saw actually some excellent top lane Rek'Sai, but it was the flash teleport, which doesn't give you the flexibility of picking up jungle camps, which Rek'Sai, obviously a wonderful champion at jungling, being a prototypical jungler, and having that Q at level 1 to get attack speed, interacting very well with the smite in general. But the thing the flash gives you is much more backline threat. You can flash unburrow, which is obviously a very standard mechanic for jungle Rek'Sais. Teleport Smite's already something that we've only seen work successfully, I believe, once, maybe twice this week as well. It's very, very risky, and it's even harder to set up ganks for Spirit because you can't even flash unburrow into that lane. So there's a lot of what-ifs, but screw it. Spirit's playing Nidalee. Uzi's playing Vayne. What a way to end the night.
Yeah, and World Elite can actually put Uzi in the top lane there already, so have the lane swap on by the looks of the current positioning, and that was my other question. They have to lane swap this lane. If Sivir Jinx is bad enough, Vayne Jinx must be awful.
It's not happy times. There is always outplay potential. The level 2, as I mentioned, is a lot of fun and possible, but you're against a Morgana who can just skill pull as she walks into lane, and Jinx who has range farming options. Cool fans, you like the hair, don't you, Pastry Time?
Cool's hair has been certainly been something that I've noted of. Whether I like it or not, I guess the jury's still out, but Cool's play has certainly been much cleaner than his unkempt hair. And Lulu, I like the pick here. It's certainly, again, a big protect the Uzi comp, but I actually like this from from OMG. They played Freight Train. They had big, tandem carry style going on with Cool and Uzi both being aggressive, showing that they can play this style as well. It'd actually be a really good weapon for them. So I liked it early in the season. They're sort of taking a chance and saying, you know what? Can we raise the puppy back up?
And we had this discussion off-air after their series yesterday, the 2-0 win over RNG, is that, okay, it's always Cool focus when they win. Can they actually play those Uzi focus comps that obviously was such a boon for Starhorn Royal Club? We're going to get the answer throughout this series, I have to feel. And I guess the only question I want to know the answer to is Spirit doesn't connect.
Nice juke there from Cool. Dodges the spin. Needs to whimsy himself away, but running towards his team that actually invaded over onto World Elite.
Tremor Sense.
Yep, Cool going to return. Tremor Sense, really good passive. Whoa, amazing! Whoa. Goes in, lands the hook onto Spirit. Binding, though, lands in, and Xiang even coming down. He's been jungling, so 8 people in the mid lane at 3.5 minutes. Welcome to the LPL.
Welcome to the LPL, indeed. Took a while for the welcome. It's about 30 games into the season already, but the welcomes definitely sent out. Spirit's not done, though. Remember, he's on the enemy side of the jump.
Yeah, going to take away some camps, but with the way the lanes have worked out here,
still safe.
Yeah, this is their side of the jungle. So we've started off vertically. Cool going to continue pressuring the Vladimir early on. Pretty much what you have to do, but Xie, Tides of Blood coming down. It'll get better for him as he gets more levels, and probably the biggest thing is both of these late game carries are getting their early farm.
I mean, speaking of late game carries, Xie is a late game mid lane carry in the Vladimir. Will outscale the Lulu. What I want to see from Cool is that we've seen this matchup a few times, and we've seen a lot of Athenes and very defensive Lulu builds coming through. I want to see, does he go for the Merlinomicon? He did it on Ori last game. Amazing's level 1.
Yeah, that's not good news here. Is he actually, no, doesn't hook away. Aluka has the Umbo to keep him out. Spirit's going to dive in, but no first blood. I don't know how he lived, but he did. That was amazing.
They did not get, that's not good, but they did not get the reset on the hunted proc there from Nilly. So I think it was actually a risk to go for the turret dive. Diving, and even a level 1 Nautilus is always a risk. So they don't go for it. But again, I want to see if we get Merlinomicon out from the Lulu. Go for the offensive, cut down on the healing, and just deal with the persistent damage from the Tides of Blood.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Cool's Lulu once again as well. Again, a shift here for the team, but certainly competent on the champion. Wildly continuing to stack up in the bottom side, hoping someone walks down, but OMG are not taking the bait once again. Amazing's already informed them, guys. It's not good down there. Do not wander in without a buddy.
There's just no rush for Aluka. He's a fiercely melee champion. One of the reasons people said that top lane Rek'Sai wouldn't work is that what's she going to do when she's in a 1v2? Even Rampage from Hecarim is 350 range. Rek'Sai has no range farming options, barring the Prey Seeker every, 8-9 seconds. Take the Smite and exit lane. Of course, very fast at jungling and picking up camps in the jungle. So no rush to enter lane. Very happy at both these teleport Smite top laners.
Yeah, getting good farm though with Xiang actually forming a dual lane now with Amazing, who's still level 1. He'll probably want to check that, but yeah, we point to Uzi there on the top side. He's deeply freezing the wave, and I'm getting flashbacks to an early spring game here. The last time Uzi did this, and he's great in this sort of 1v0 situation with the freeze, don't get me wrong. His first buy was a Blade of the Ruined King.
The thing about Uzi, as you mentioned, is that his 1v0 is wonderful, but what's old is new. It's even more effective against a champion like Rek'Sai that literally can't get anywhere near the minion wave. It's not Maokai who can walk up, Q, throw out the saplings and see what happens and try and push the wave. They need to right now put multiple members top, but it's important to note that it's Nidalee who does have some pushing options but has to get into melee range for them. So they need to really apply multiple members top, or they're going to recreate that Blade of the Ruined King purchase, and that's going to be sad times for everyone on Team World Elite.
Except for, for World Elite, yes. For Uzi, it's the best possible time here on his vein. As Spirit can look mid for a gank again, but Cool just not buying it here. Spirit's trying to find pressure, but Shueishue's been hidden. That's actually the other nice thing about the lane swap is he doesn't get bullied around by Spirit because he had 2 bodyguards for the first 4 minutes of the game in his jungle. Xiang's doing just fine. He's actually 20 CS ahead of Aluka already. And OMG, we've seen the Vayne before in spring, looking just fine here early on in summer.
Spirit's frustration keeps ganking lanes that have no CC or kill pressure. I think he needs to, as I mentioned, help pushing in top. Finally, Aluka picks up a mini waves. Finally, the freeze was ended. Both jungles are there, no coincidence. Will we see some action?
Yeah, I wonder why Uzi broke the freeze. I guess for what you were saying, a dive actually is imminent potentially. Shueishue's level 4, Uzi's level 6 on this Vayne, and Spirit actually just going to miss the Gragas. Now he'll eat a spear and know what the story is. So the dive that they wanted, they're not going to get. But Uzi's level 7. He can start bossing people around.
It's worth knowing that keeping a perfect freeze is never a guarantee. Uzi's caught.
Yeah, it's full Uzi time. Here is level 7 on the Vayne. 1v2. Teleport's going to make it, even though Aluka going to get aggressed on. Xiang's coming in. He's only level 4, though, but it will protect his AD carry player.
I just mentioned that mechanically, with how minions break, there is always the time that it will eventually push back in. So it might have just been one of those awkward interactions. Maybe a minion shouldn't have taken a turret hit and did and was going to push out. That's why you just call over your jungler and say, okay, in 40 seconds, it's going to push to his turret, and you open up the dive. So it probably wasn't a intentional choice, but you just try and make the best of how the minions break.
Yeah, and 68 CS here, actually matched by Mystic. So again, both the late game focused carries going to get their early backs off soon here. Mystic actually takes a turret. That's one nice advantage of the Jinx. And Uzi, it's not straight Blade of the Ruined King, unfortunately for him, but it's a decent crack at it. Bilgewater Cutlass done. He actually had recurve bow for a while, but decides on Cutlass and a dagger.
He chooses to swap back as well. We'll get Dragon pressure, but won't have a turret to back away to. So suddenly, bot lane is a lane with CC, especially if Conan ping 6 can potentially get a lot of work done, even especially with no turret to retreat to. So suddenly, gank pathing around bottom lane is a realistic option. Maybe we'll still see the swap back as OMG realizes the risk of going into this lane. But for now, definitely pathing towards the bot lane.
I mean, this is great news for Xiang, because his lane is excellent right now against this Rek'Sai. He actually got his Cinder. He doesn't have that much right now on the pony, but a good CS lead, still very comfy in this lane, and doesn't have teleport. So actually, I think they need to swap down just to make sure that they don't instantly lose the Dragon with too many people on the top side. BF Sword for Jinx is going to make the lane a little tricky here for OMG, but if they can navigate from this stage onwards, Vayne's going to look great in the mid game.
Returning to the mid lane, it is going to be Athene, so they are respecting the damage potential from the Vlad over potentially cutting down his healing. It's a two-threat lineup. I did kind of negate the fact they do have a jungle Nidalee, so the Magic was just doing double duty. Disappointed not to see the offensive choice, but he showed it on the Ahri, so there's still always potential for Cool to go the offensive option.
Yeah, blue buff there for Cool as well. Going to make his life a little bit easier there in the mid as they're fairly even in CS. Xie going for Abyssal Scepter, it looks like, on an amp term, so Hextech Revolver's going to be in the mix there somewhere. And Cool finally hits a spear, has to shield himself, but he'll just walk away from Spirit's gank.
A lot of damage, though. Don't let the shield distract you. Even after the things, we're talking 400 damage registering from the max range spear from Spirit. They don't have enough jungle pressure around mid to double pink the sides and really relieve any pressure in that regard. So jungle Nidalee, if there's CC or if there's kill pressure, is a scary thing to behold.
And we've seen it from Spirit before. Probably had the best looking jungle Nidalee of anyone in the world, potentially, as far as individual carry performances go. We've seen him do insane things on this champion. Has his Magus so ready to go as Uzi. Just missing a Trump is actually amazing going to come in, but Spirit's down here as well. So is Shui. They're going to maybe fancy a 3v3. Conan's already used his ulti. That's going to force the flash very close to take him out. Uzi! Oh, he wants it so bad. He gets it, and then Shui is going to come back in, but Conan, he is safe, and Spirit's going to come back. Cool's here as well. It's a party in the bottom lane, but nobody dies.
But multiple members, all 5 committed, and OMG, can they rotate and pick up an objective to justify using 4 of their members? Hecarim's still on the top, so I do apologize, but sending over the Lulu while Cool gets a free, so while Xie gets a free shop, could be punished.
Oh, so many good spears from Spirit as well.
And now Dragon's gone.
Yeah,
Can't take it now.
Way too low, and Xiang doesn't have his teleport, so OMG, that was a good opportunity for them to force and actually take advantage of the teleport disadvantage, but as it stands, World Elite going to keep control, at least over the teleports and the Dragon for now.
And that's the unique thing about Rek'Sai top, is that there's always going to be a teleport disadvantage, because you don't need teleport to get back to lane. You instantly reappear with the Void Rush. Realistically, you're not going to have a tunnel network in the bottom side of the map anytime soon, maybe 30 minutes into the game, but certainly not early. So teleports exclusively for showing up at Dragon fights, and the Void Rush just means that you're always going to be over-leveled because you just can't be forced out of lane.
Yeah, and this is the Luca again, a very different style of champion. He's got his Skirmisher Saber, the Cinder Hulk's close there with the Barmy Cinder. Xiang actually doing the same, and Aluka still a bit behind in CS, but starting to sort of even it out a bit more. Hecarim does need to keep scaling. Aluka's actually going to be the same, and for me, does Aluka really commit to this champion? Because I want to see a Black Cleaver from him.
I feel like there's a couple of factors working against him comp-wise. Like, I'm happy to see Spirit pick the Nidalee again, but we've already mentioned not really any help. It's not the Maokai top. If this was a Maokai top, it would be a perfect World Elite team comp in a lot of ways. But it's a bit of a risk. They are going to pick up the Dragon, but what I don't like is that Aluka's the solo frontline with 1 CC that he doesn't have Flash to really work on. Rek'Sai kind of needs to build into damage to be a split push threat. Still going to be decent in the split push, but the Black Cleaver is kind of needed. If he goes Black Cleaver, everyone's else is squishy, barring potentially some resistant health coming through from Xie's passive in mid. It's an awkward team comp. The pieces individually are nice and strong, but together.
Amazing, it's a binding. Jinx ulti, just gonna miss. Spirit Spear will miss as well. Depth Charge coming in. Uzi gets the condemn, but Spirit will finally claim first blood as Uzi goes back in, eats a binding, eats a spear. Spirit might dive back in, but it's Teleport City now on the bottom side. Shui's here. Xiang's teleported in as well. They're onto Aluka now as Cool is rotating in, but Mystic getting good damage in. Xiang dives in on top of him. Shui eats the wild growth, and Xie gets a kill there onto Gragas. Uzi still here dishing out damage, but it's not quite enough. Condemns Mystic away to try and dissuade some of the damage. Cool goes down to Vlad though, and OMG, everything went wrong there.
A really nice collapse from Xie. Xiang uses the Devastating Charge for the CC effect just to push him away. Uzi will live, but things actually looking pretty good for World Elite.
If that had been a QSS or cleanse situation, Uzi would have looked like a genius going back in 1v3, but unfortunately just gets nailed by a binding, almost dies from the follow-up poke, and World Elite starting to get good traction. In fact, we look back up, almost 3,000 gold ahead for World Elite.
And although I don't like the team fighting comp, poking around structures in particular and just having that annoying split pusher in Rek'Sai is a real possible win condition for them here. He's going to go back, has his Cinderhulk already, does a Luca, so we'll be able to compound that, start building a bit more defensively, which he needs to. If there is going to be the Black Cleaver, it's likely going to be quite delayed. Spirit's doing well this game, is starting to get kill participation, 100%, 1-0 and 2. Not going off per se, but snowballing is one of their best ways to win this game, because in the late game, as we mentioned, if it gets to a pure 5v5 team fight phase, can't see World Elite winning above 50% of those fights.
And I think you're right. 5v5, it doesn't look good, but if you commit completely to just a game where you always pressure 1-4, their 4 actually looks quite good. Absolutely.
With the Rek'Sai split pushing, it definitely is a very good option because they just have so much more uptime on the split push because, again, the teleport's always there purely for team fights. It's why Rek'Sai has really started to become a contested pick, not just in the jungle, but in top as well.
And you can see good rotations there from Mystic getting damage down onto the turret. Uzi does have his Blade of the Ruin King, so might fancy the 1v1 a bit more now against maybe anyone, honestly, at this stage of the game. But Berserker Greaves and good, strong AD items completed, moving towards that Infinity Edge means that Mystic wants to try and take some turrets, looks for the mid, but doesn't quite knock it down.
It's a very strong turret-taking build, but not the critical strike or Infinity Edge to really get the team fights rolling. But still very, very comfortable, very at similar levels of power between the two. Berserker Greaves will be a nice little tipping point for Uzi, but it's still a little bit away. And in the top, Aluka's got an experience advantage. How far will this grow? Because honestly, consistently, 2 levels or more is the advantage for these Rek'Sais compared to their opponents.
And sneaky Conan has just come back into the top lane, maybe looking for a gank here. The wave's going to push back out, and Xiang, no flash here on these Hecarim's, of course, does have the ulti, but he might just die from the damage if he gets binded.
Staying next to his turret, Conan's dissuaded. So the top laner senses seem to be coming quite naturally to Xiang. This is, of course, worth noting for history that Xiang has played top lane for OMG before this season, actually going after 2014 Worlds. Xiang's getting a bit cute.
Good pull there, and Uzi just goes in aggressive. Depth charge lands in, but Uzi's eating the Hemoplague. Wild Growth down there as well, but Uzi can't commit to the kill. Hemoplague goes off. He almost dies from the damage. Shui blocks the binding, but he might go down now as well. Body slams away, and OMG commit, but do not get the kill thereafter.
Crucially, Super Mega Death Rocket hits the mostly full health Shui, so isn't able to take down Uzi either. This experiment from Xiang is looking better than the previous time. As I mentioned, going swap to AD carry. Xiang went to top lane. That was all a bit crazy. Everyone kind of looked at it with the expression, you just gave me pastry time. It didn't work out that time, but showing a lot more natural mechanics and obviously been practicing the role, presumably during the spring split.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these subs we've come in, I mean, Zatai's another great example for me.
Poke.
Yeah, lots of poke here coming in. Bindings flying out everywhere. It's pretty interesting shooting gallery to try and dodge here for OMG, and they're not stopping. A tower's gone down. That's 2-0 now for World Elite, growing that gold lead to 4,000. That's a dead Nautilus as Xie actually gets credit for the kill, and that might mean another tower.
All 3 line skill shots have to be respected, whether it's the Zap, the Nidalee Spear, or the Morgana Dark Binding. One of them hits, and you know the next 2 are guaranteed. The split push is so successful, and they're playing around Uzi's Vayne, because the one thing Vayne's not good at is clearing waves.
It's not trying here. Oh, Joyger actually going in. They want Spirit. Beautiful ulti by Xiang. The freight train unloads its payload once more. Xie now going to get chased down. Uzi doesn't have his ulti, crucially, but will catch up now. Xie going to get knocked up by Wild Growth. Does go down. Uzi going to keep chasing in. Can't dodge a binding for Conan. Aluka's down here as well. Uzi looking to go down. Gets smited, but does not fall. But OMG answer back with some kills.
Yeah, and the ult was almost available. If he'd avoided that skill shot, would have been able to re-engage for a couple more bonus kills. That's the fight OMG is looking for. The 4-1 split is not really possible for them. Hecarim needs to answer Rek'Sai. Grouping with Vayne doesn't feel great, but until you get a few items and can just be completely uncontested, the poke from WE is real.
It is, and we talk about 2-item power spikes a lot on Rumble. Want to highlight Nidalee there. Just had tier charging up, had it for a while, so looking good as far as that goes. Magus was done quite early, and actually just Sork Shoots was there for the poke. Nidalee gets so much power so early that if you set up that situation like World Elite did, Nidalee does exactly that, just takes over a game.
There's a reason that Magus, unfortunately, is overlooked given the Cinderhulk meta, but Magus is such a strong and efficient item in its own way. A needlessly large rod worth of AP, 20% CDR, which again, Black Cleaver accepted, is very hard to itemize for. And just builds so well. It's super cheap, super effective. You build the tier afterwards to alleviate your mana problems. And that poke sticks from Nidalee.
And if we want to look at builds a little bit more in this game, Aluk is actually where we should start because he's got a Randuin's coming up and the Merc Tread's already completed. So not the Black Cleaver, wants to be a bit more of a tank and team fighter. Again,
I think he has to do this. Why I'm not as much a fan is that as a solo tank, he doesn't really have any engaged CC barring the world's best flank. Maybe you could get a home guard boot and look for a great ward, but both the wards and the home guard boots aren't created. Poking is their only option compared to team fighting that they inevitably should lose, barring the game getting late enough for Jie to just hyperscale as Vladimir.
And I guess the other thing to look at as well is cool. He's got a Magizer on the Lulu. I get it, you're a utility champion. The AP stacks are nice, but that is going to delay the death cap.
And it does dissipate some of the wave clear. Mystic's core.
Yeah, Black Shield keeps him safe, but he does not want to be standing that far forward because the other thing that OMG want to do, and this is signaled to me by that Magi, is they want to fight.
They want to fight. They want to all in. All in is their best mode of play. Any sort of extended poke trades will go against them. Any sort of a poke is also kind of a bad thing because if they lose a member, even though they have a 5v5 advantage, things like team comp don't mean as much if one of your members has died. So they want to engage fights in open areas wherever possible. Just utilize Uzi's great Vayne mechanics to avoid skill shots and get those picks. Until they do that, though, the game's a bit painful for OMG.
It is, and you can see they're trying to find a pick. Aluk is where they look to, but it's not quite there. Good rotation, though, to give them pressure on the turret. They'd like to take it if they can get it, but it's a bit tricky. They have to dodge again. All of the poker. Cool. Just eats a spear, and OMG can't finish the turret.
Yeah, the turret taking's bad because, again, not one of Vayne's strong points. Wave clear and turret taking is a struggle for the Vayne.
Xiang actually might be in trouble as Shui Shui just gets out with a body slam, but again, Spirit and these spears, he's working on his Archandras as well. That blue buff belongs to World Elite by the looks of things. Uzi's even down in the bottom side. Double smites, maybe they can secure it, but oh, Xiang. Very nice smite, does take it away.
But it is strange to see scattered OMG shot calling. Why are they defending blue when Uzi had full-on committed to picking up the red on the other side of the jungle? 5 members of World Elite on the same page, and Uzi takes a huge burst of damage.
Yeah, almost eats the spear there, and that would have been his death as Xie not mucking about also with the damage. I actually like this group from World Elite as well, because again, they've got the poke, they can siege, but Xie right now is a potent threat with Abyssal and Will of the Ancients.
At least OMG have prepped a wonderful minion wave that is punishing World Elite at the top side of the map. So that's the minimum they can get because this poke war.
Yeah, they're not winning it ever at this stage of the game, and that turret's going to go down here. OMG don't pull the trigger. They have the ultis back up, but too much poke means they can't go in.
This comp would look pretty good for OMG if they had a Sivir.
Yes. I mean, we're going to say that a lot about Sivir Hecarim, I think, but instead we have Vayne because Uzi.
Because Uzi.
I mean, he's already gone full Uzi a couple of times with reasonable success. He doesn't need much more as Xie. Black Shield and pull just to make sure you are safe from the Nautilus Hook. And Aluk is back to split push duty in the top lane.
Just the downside of comps like this that do work very well in team fights is they only really have one mode, and that's win team fights. World Elite, they got really strong split pushing options with the Rek'Sai. Their poke is wonderful under turrets. The thing that's evolved in League of Legends in 2015 is that if you have multiple win conditions, you just have so many more options to win a game. It's why Sivir gives you so many things. She has wave clear, she has excellent turret damage, she can out-rotate enemies. She can do so many things that, okay, you can get a Blade the Ruined King as Vayne and then just go in her lane and kill her in a perfect world. But if the perfect world doesn't happen, there's 80% of other games where you will get punished as Vayne against the Sivir. Uzi is building items, he has got good CS, still far behind Mystic, but he's going to be competitive and still has 1v1 advantage. So what does World Elite do? Just never set someone to punish him 1v1 and just play towards their win conditions. Keep poking, keep causing pressure around the mid lane, because if they can finally start clearing out some of these defensive wards on the blue side jungle for OMG, you poke to the point where you have complete Baron control. You know for a fact that all wards would possibly have timed out, and then you just back off to Baron.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Dragon controls on. It's back up in less than 2 minutes, so World Elite can now look for their third dragon. That's another thing that OMG have to worry about here. Yes, they'll eventually get to a spot where they force 5v5s and they look good, and that might even be now, to be honest, but you can see with the way World Elite's playing, Aluka in the bottom side, Mystic's even getting farm in the top side. OMG might get this turret, but it's not going to be much more than that.
Wait and see if there's going to be an engaged We see the flank from Aluka.
Onto Xie, but Aluka's back down as well. Xiang needs to line up the ulti. Pokes are coming in amazing, taking a little too much damage. Jinx will unleash and get excited, and OMG 5v4 have to back off.
And it's just the thing, the comps don't mean so much. Sure, if they were equal gold, equal objectives, I'd take OMG's comp every day of the week. It's just there's no way to be that. Once you come into the vein, once this early game was inevitably going to roll out this way, things really go well for World Elite. And now we see the bait coming on. Of course, Tremor Sense is on the side of World Elite, so at the moment, it's a successful bait until now.
Yep, walk over the wall. They're trying to get a better position, and that will mean OMG will back away. Dragon back up in 55 seconds there as well, so they're going to look to their third Dragon. And Shui clears out a couple wards, but Cool's Magias is looking awfully bare at this stage of the game, and Spirit just got his Void Staff.
There's a reason Duo Dade has become more of an ironic jeer rather than kind of a call to a rally call to arms. It's just often it doesn't work, and it just tips your hand. It's if you build an needlessly large road, you can still opt into fights. It's still a power spike, but saying I need to get stacking, boys, lets the enemy know exactly what you're looking to do. And look, the team comp they put together made it pretty damn clear, but it's so easy to play around things like stacks, whether it's target selection as the numbers get higher or just respecting the team fight power when they pick up the purchase. It's all been communicated. Uzi's trying to get that second outer turret to start answering the 4 that are down. It's a very small win if they get it.
It is, and I actually really like the movement here from Uzi, but it comes with a lot of risk. He's actually the best person to match Aluka's split push, and they actually do get the turret, so getting a bit of traction back here. The problem is, though, Uzi obviously doesn't have teleport, so when he can't come into a lane immediately, that does give World Elite a chance where they can actually win disadvantageous team fights for OMG, and Uzi can only do this before long before World Elite just put pressure somewhere else, like this third Dragon that they're going to get for free.
I mean, the Dragon playbook has been completely thrown out by OMG. That's why everyone is on this side of the map. We see Cool in the mid and all 4 other members rotating around the enemy red side jungle. That's where they have their control. Obviously, Baron taking damage. I mean, Vayne does a lot of damage to Baron. Hecarim's building for damage as well, so they do decent Baron damage, but not a realistic objective given how far behind they are. And they just have to see Dragon as an objective. The third one, it's already not ideal, but maybe you can give it away. But once the 4th comes down, that win condition just keeps popping up for World Elite and becomes more and more of a struggle for OMG to start giving up these neutrals.
And you said that OMG, fairly one-dimensional as far as how they're going to win this game. I think they're just going to have to go full EDG here. Get a pick, win a fight, get Baron, and just push through the Dragons. We've seen it time and time again, but the question is World Elite going to let you do that? Because right now, they've basically spent a bunch of time running away from OMG and just getting further and further ahead.
The critical thing for World Elite to do here is to buy 5 pink wards, always pink ward their flanks, and just ensure that Hecarim never shows up from behind. They don't have as much pick CC. Nautilus in particular, from the support role, can't just flash ult people. It's not a realistic way to engage, and they have Morgana anyway to stop single target pick CC. Only a Hecarim flank with Gragas coming at the same time, so both perfect communication and perfect warding and play can facilitate that, and honestly mistakes in terms of the defensive warding of World Elite. It feels like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, well, if this happens and that happens and the other team makes a mistake, then OMG can get a pick. But 90% of the time, that's not going to happen, and World Elite, assuming no cataclysmic mistakes, should be fine.
Yeah, looking good so far. In fact, Uzi might be getting ganked. This is one of the risks associated with split pushing with your Vayne. Just that they're an amazing literally a ward there, spotting him out, so it doesn't get Uzi ganked, but that's not gaining OMG that much ground, as World Elite might just say, you know what, stuff it, let's push.
And World Elite, they're playing to their win condition. They're pushing hard. They have excellent siege and good turret damage coming through from the Jinx, even just as a solo machine there. With the Nidalee heal, it'll just be huge amounts of attack speed riding onto the Jinx. They keep pushing in. Xie at this point is disregarding damage and doing considerable damage himself. Minion waves been well pushed out by OMG in the bottom lane, but turret damage.
I mean, you made the point about wave clear, and really apart from Cool, it is lacking here for OMG. Unfortunately for Cool, he went Magi's instead of needlessly large rod or blasting on, which means that flat AP that you need to quickly clear out the waves, it's just not there yet for him.
And that's just a mistake, I have to say. That's just, if that's the only wave clear you have, going for the stacking build is a mistake, because now your wave clear is behind par. It's even less than it should have been. And that's why if World Elite ever get Baron, the game's just over, because with how the minions interact with magic resist, it's just going to be too much.
Black Shield has been used. OMG might not find a better time to go in. Gragas ulti throw, Mystic goes into the wall, but OMG, it's a disengage ultimate there for Gragas. Uzi eats a spear as well. things going from bad to worse here for OMG, but for World Elite, looking just dandy.
And Luca can just go and pick up this wave from the bottom side that's pushing in, to be honest. He doesn't need to be grouped. I guess they're being flexible and looking to see whether turret diving is an option. Didn't even notice this, but the first completed item after the Magus is the Void Staff. No purchase is going to keep you away from that Nidalee damage.
Yeah, Spirit's doing insane poke damage right now, as I think someone else ate a spear. Amazing, looking to go in. Xiang's going to try and make it happen, but Black Shield back. Ulti does miss, and Xiang, even with the Wild Growth, can't do anything. Shui eats some chompers, and World Elite going to repeat what they've been doing for, honestly, the past 10 minutes.
But Mystic not trusting in Conan actually flashed despite having the Black Shield, so they get a 5-minute cooldown out of that engage. Much shorter, of course, on the Onslaught of Shadows. They need to use that window. They'll have the flash timer. This is their slimmest of hopes. It's only a glimmer, but it's something.
I mean, OMG have to go quickly, and Conan's Black Shield, when it's up, makes it almost impossible, even with the flash down there for Mystic. The poke's going to keep coming. I mean, Spirit doesn't even have the blue buff, but doesn't really need it, given that he's got mana sacked up from the tier. He's just fine right now. Uzi's actually stopping Aluka from split pushing in the middle, so he's not even there for a fight if it broke out. Fourth Dragon's going to be up in a minute 50, and OMG running out of options and time here, and World Elite looking just fine here to try and close out the series and split it with OMG.
Backing off to Baron is a smart move for World Elite, but OMG's warding in general has been good. They cleared out a pink on the way. This is all fairly predictable. They're just hoping that Amazing will face check and die. I
think, honestly, maybe just push in the mid here and try and create some pressure, because you will draw World Elite out. You'll actually finally have an avenue to fight them 5v5 unless they, unless they go the long way around, in which case you get a turret.
They don't have the Gress turret damage, though, so even this is not going to be an assertive trade, and there comes the flank.
I mean, this is sort of what they want. It's kind of a head-on team fight, which is, I think, what OMG have been waiting for, but with the advantage that World Elite have 6,000 gold, they might even find just a 5v5 will be perfect for them. Xiang needs his ulti. He's waiting for it to come back, and World Elite successfully defend their Tier 2 turret.
No pokers registered whatsoever, so the 5v5 team fight is real. 6,000 gold or 5,500 means not going to be even necessarily, but World Elite just don't have to fight them, and that's the only way they can lose is opting into a 5v5 where their comp isn't really tuned for that. So they'll just keep playing their game, and eventually OMG will be slightly out of position, and they'll get the big objective they're looking for to just tip this game completely over.
And ults are up, Mystic's flash is down, but OMG can't find a window to try and find a fight. Maybe they're going to contest for this fourth dragon. Mystic's flash will still not be available, but OMG got some work to do. Need to clear out waves, make sure they don't lose anything else, and get to that dragon. 20 seconds they've got to get over there, and Uzi's busy farming.
Exactly. Uzi's been farming the whole game, has excellent CS now, only 5 CS down on the Jinx, but honestly, base time, it's not going to matter unless this big mistake comes out or unless we see the outplay of all outplays.
Yeah, OMG needs to go soon. We keep talking about windows here and options for World Elite. The options are only growing larger as OMG's options grow slimmer here, and they kind of only had 1 or 2 to begin with. So World Elite, they're closing in on the 5th dragon. Baron's a threat now as well. They're still up in gold. Everyone's getting stronger. And unfortunately for OMG, things just not going the way they wanted this game. The Vayne pick, we barely ever see it work. It's kind of outplay or nothing here for Uzi. He loves the champion, we know that, but you said it already, Sivir might have been a bit better.
And you just compare it to the Nidalee pick that always seems to work, that they just don't actually select that often. There's a reason that during the break, while AGG were over at MSI, when the International Esports Tournament was played, final was World Elite versus Invictus Gaming. That Nidalee was banned out 3 games out of 3 on the same patch because teams respect the power. Xiang considering going for the steal, but he doesn't have flash. It's not, if he's suicide, he's going to give up Baron. So 4 dragons, and now, again, everything running for World Elite.
I mean, I don't know if OMG are out of time, but they're getting awfully close to it at this stage of the game. 32 minutes have passed here. World Elite have still got a 5,000 gold lead. That's been fairly consistent, but that's all the lead they need at this point. OMG just can't find anything proactive to do. In fact, they're going to rush down Baron. There's already a pink ward on top of it.
Position.
I mean, that's a decent chance to fight. This might be OMG's only chance.
They have 2 smites, so this is a decent decision. I think they have to do it because whatever else they do, they will inevitably lose.
All or nothing. Aluka dives in. It's 2 smites first. 2 smites. Xiang gets it, but now ulting in onto Mystic. Going to try and run him out. Conan's going to go down. Xiang keeps himself alive. Amazing dies again. But if that's all they lose, OMG, that's actually a win.
That's a really big objective taken.
Oh, Spirit. Find Xiang with a spear. No, not yet. Uzi dodges the next one. But Spirit equalizes.
2 for 2 and a Baron is certainly not an equal trade. Excellent knowledge. They knew that Xia had gone back. They tunneled it down. It certainly wasn't a Baron without risk. There was a very high-level smite coming through from Aluka. But they were clinical, and it was Xiang who was clinical. Again, one of the new top laners who certainly wouldn't have his eye in terms of smite. Spirit keeps pushing. What can they get done with this Baron? I think breaking the base is too much, but if they could at least take out all the standing gold on the map, it's 2 turrets to 5, start equaling that, get the gold values even, and then just hope to God you get that team fight you picked for that World Elite has never granted.
I mean, Baron gives OMG the one thing they haven't had all game long, Siege. It feels like. The ability to be assertive more than anything else. They can finally take fights, but Luca teleporting in. Xiang's coming in as well. Good chompers there from Mystic, and Xiang's forced to cancel. He'll run back from the base, and Uzi's been caught. Hemo playing on top of him. Locket gets proc. Shui trying to keep him as healthy as they can. The shields are there. Amazing. No, does not die. Wild growth from Cool keeps him safe, but they need the pony back in. Xiang is here, but he doesn't have his ulti, and World Elite are not stopping Uzi. Back and forth, trying to poke his way in. Exhaust baited there by Xiang, so very nice moves. 1-for-0 trade there. World Elite come ahead, but OMG still hold Baron on key members.
It's not just the Baron, though. They were low health members. They hadn't shopped, and it was still a very equal trade. Shui just makes the evasive maneuvers. Of course, able to dance is Gragas when it comes to dodging skill
Xiang
shots.
finds Spirit. That's a big kill if they can get it. Flashes out of the way. Xiang ultis just snaps him with the Terrify, and that's a big pick here for OMG.
And Conan was literally 100 units away from being able to put down the Black Shield. That probably would have been just enough to keep alive the Nidalee. OMG keeps pushing. They're in vision, I believe, but they're going to keep going.
You can see Spirit there frustrated at the death, but Uzi has one thing on his mind only. Push some turrets. They were at 0-for-3 turrets for so long in this game. There's their third up against World Elite Spirit, but they need to keep going.
Yeah, we're waiting to see what the Baron buff duration is like. I have to assume it's below half. I told you they were at 2 to 5 turrets, so pick up that standing gold. Get that fourth turret to start equalizing the gold, because we already said team fights looking pretty good.
Ulti coming in, Mystic, no Black Shield, but the angle not quite there. Cool takes a massive chunk of poke as well, and the Siege just not quite there, even with the Baron buff for OMG.
Yeah, the Flash is also back up on Mystic. That was another source of the problems. The defensive Flash that comes. Xiang is caught.
He's dead, I have to assume at this stage. Ulti comes through, does take him out. That's a lot of execution damage there, and the Hecarim will fall.
To be fair, it's a level 15, 3-item. Not even Last Whisper, going for the rich man's build with the Bloodthirster, and only the Glacial Shard for armor. So that's probably the effect you should see from James.
I mean, Uzi QSS, 3 items there as well, starting to do a bit more in these fights. This is, unfortunately for Vayne, her jumping off point. It takes a lot to get her Vayne going, and Uzi just reaches it at 36 minutes in the game. OMG did not really equalize the lead, but Spirit might give them a free kill. Uzi QSS is out, Spirit's dead again. And that's twice now that he's been caught out of position.
There's a lot of things that 3-item Vayne doesn't do. This is one of them.
Uzi going in, full Uzi time, but he gets hit by a Chompers. The Wild Growth there, though. Hemo Plague down. Uzi has to back off there. Gets lifesteal off the Scuttle Crab. Takes a bit too much damage, though. Mystic is so strong.
And this game is all about Uzi. Mystic can't actually close in onto Gragas. You can see the potential now that they've managed to get the Baron. It's ironic that after a game of purely turret diving and aggression, it was a misrotation that OMG was able to capitalize on. So definitely a different school of League of Legends, but the assertive play when GA backed has got them back into this game. Suddenly the gold leads only at just about 4,500. It never ballooned from that 5,000 value, and crucially, the gold lead between 80 carries is almost 0.
Yeah, Uzi's managed to keep himself in the game. Still about 5 CS behind Mystic, but keeping it competitive, which, given the texture of this game, is very impressive from the seasoned Vayne player in Spirit. I can see there in his inventory, and needlessly Ladrod has been completed. That Zhonya's cannot come fast enough.
I guess the question that comes back, Patient, I hate to poo-poo what is going to be potentially a massively strong performance from the Vayne. If Uzi carries this game, was it all worth it, setting up such a poor mid-game situation where they basically need to get lucky or massively out-rotate just to win? And still, so many factors working against them. 0 to 4 in Dragons, huge win conditions spawning in 30 seconds. All the cool-centric comps seem to go really well for OMG. They've gone full Uzi. But man, it's going to be such a struggle if they can do it.
It is. I mean, don't let the last few shining moments for OMG fool you. World Elite are still firmly ahead here in this game, but OMG starting to feel like they have a little bit more space to move. 5th Dragon for World Elite's up in 10 seconds. OMG must contest, and they've gotten themselves to probably the best possible point that they could have gotten to, given what's already happened in this game.
Although we've seen winning performances on Vayne, we haven't seen the hyper carry reminiscent of either 2014 or 2013 Worlds. The poke starts to register, but only onto Amazing. You've got to fight, but World Elite not making it easy.
I mean, Dragon's going to get low so swiftly. Mystic does not mess about as far as damage goes. They actually get them off. Never mind. They were going to get them off the Dragon, then Amazing took another spear.
I mean, how are they going to? They don't have any through threat other than all in. They have no poke whatsoever. Uzi's poking around the side in terms of damage and auto attacks in 550 range. I think Xiang should just teleport in, but the Dragon's too low.
He's there. He's actually behind. Massive ult from Shui. Xiang goes back in, and Uzi is unleashed in the fight. Mystic needs to go down. Actually, Uzi gets taken out as Aluka goes in. Xie is still alive as well. Cool gets a double. Mystic getting chased there by Xiang, but it's not enough here. Xie, so much damage here. The 5th Dragon went to World Elite as well. That was the crucial part. Shui going to go back in, but Mystic does disgusting damage at this stage. Xiang's going to die. The ace is all but completed here as Cool manages to survive on a sliver of health. And that was all OMG could have asked for, and they still couldn't win a team fight.
And after all of it, they were actually outnumbered. It was 3 OMG members to 2, but the hyper-scaling of Vlad with AP meant that he even got more health to go along with just his high natural damage. And an AoE crit rocket killed Vayne from half health. There's no life-stealing, 12% bonus AD, Infinity Edge, Bloodthirster, Phantom Dancer, and a pickaxe Mystic damage. 1,200 crits for days. And Vayne, with all her heroics, could do nothing to the crit rocket.
And World Elite now get themselves even further ahead in gold and looking at Baron as the next objective. Mystic's there on spawn. They've still got a pink ward in there from the last time. Aluka joins in. He's barely tanking. Basically a jungler at this stage, and Baron's dead.
It's a free Baron. They can't contest it. Amazing went to walk towards and said, oh, wait, I have no wards in that area. Have to back away. Free Baron for a team that already sieged well. It took a Baron to get them back into this game, but I think a Baron will be the death knell for OMG's hopes.
I mean, the 5th Dragon looks to be wearing off here for World Elite, but they'll just fend off some waves. They've got their Baron off, more than enough strength to take on OMG. And let's watch this again.
So this was a really big fight. So when we eventually engage, it is the 5th Dragon, but it might not matter if they get the ace. Uzi's surviving his half health. But wait for the rocket just kills him for 633 damage onto a champion. Mystic backs away, has so much AD and lifesteal at this point. I believe also has the Elixir of Wrath for even more effective lifesteal. It's 3v2 action, but Zhuezhe obviously isn't going to do too much damage. And just World Elite with their scaling, there's 2 carries. It doesn't matter that the peelers are down just because they're at high health and they have the extra stats and lifesteal. And now they're pushing down mid and there's no reaction.
No, that turret's dead, melted there by Mystic. We've seen this late game before, the Vladimir Jinx especially, with a World Elite special late in last season, and they kind of got there in a weird way. They sort of bridged themselves to this point with an Italy. But this looks great for World Elite, and all of a sudden I understand Aluka's tanky build much more in this game.
He just needs to be some semblance of a frontline so that everyone else can poke behind him. The poke is really hurting too.
And they have good damage. I mean, it's not a traditional 5v5, everyone goes in, frontline dies, backline does damage, but they can actually force a fight now against OMG because of all the objectives they've accrued. And again, we've seen the Vladimir Jinx before, from World Elite specifically. It does so much damage in the late game.
It just does disgusting damage, and Aluka is a solo frontline. He's trying to take aggro, but no damage yet.
Amazing, it's a binding. Zhuezhe might be going back in. Jiang dives in and actually depth charge onto Mystic. Conan is dead. Uzi can only hit what's in front of him, but eats a spear for about 50% of his health. And it's 1 for 2 there. World Elite still ahead as far as manpower goes. Aluka dives back in. Uzi just dodging the Jinx ulti, but it's too much, it looks like. Xiang going to try and make it happen, but Uzi, he's eating far too much. Xie is just going to dive him here at this stage, and World Elite look to take this game against OMG.
Yeah, OMG keep topping up, but it's not enough against this damage.
Yeah, Shui's dead. Mystic needs a crit. Almost goes in. Gets Krakus, but can't get Uzi, but it doesn't matter. World Elite equalize the score and take game number 2.
Smart Baron kept OMG in the game for 3 to 4 minutes pastry time, but by the end it did not matter. The things they had to give up to be able to get competitive, specifically giving up 4 dragons without a contest.